Welcome to Renovating Real Estate. I'm Sandy McMaster, your host. And each week we renovate the way real estate operators think, decide, and most importantly, execute. We do that around here using the identity ops method because most people, most agents, they never operationalize what truly makes them different. And now today we are talking about a sentence that is honestly annoying but true. And that is perception is reality. In real estate or any service based business for that matter, if someone's unhappy, they can take the same set of facts and tell a story that makes you the villain. Now, the antidote is simple. It's not better intention, it's not better mindset. It is a defensible operating system. And you build that by showing your work. Today, we're going to start with a harmless example about wallpaper of all things, and then we'll get into the operator version of this. Let's get into it. Years ago, this has to be, it's got to be over 20 years ago. I was showing a property in a historic home, Old Town Alexandria. If you know it, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking historical properties, compartmentalized rooms, the bathrooms, tiny, like postage stamps, but cool nonetheless if you're into that kind of thing. So anyways, I'm showing this property and we're in a historical Old Town Alexandria home. And I happen to be leading the tour. I'm a newer agent at the time. And so we go to flip on the light to this postage stamp of a bathroom. And I want you to picture 1970s bougie wallpaper. We're talking some sort of blend of it was a purple and black situation with like a metallic sheen on it. Like somebody back in 1970 was like, yes, that there should have been a disco ball in here. It was very out of character for a historical property and if this section of real estate in this geography. And so I flip on the light and I see this abysmal wallpaper. And the client, we're tight together because it's very, very tight quarters. And I poke my head in and I go, oh my gosh, whoa. Ah, And I'm thinking, okay, well, this tour is over because this situation, if this is what signs, what's going to tell us what's to come, oh, we're in trouble, right? And so the client is right there, right behind me, tight quarters. So you know what I'm talking about. People sometimes when you're touring with people, they're right there with you. And she also has the same reaction. And I start laughing. I go, yeah. And then she interrupts me and she says, isn't this fabulous? This is amazing. Now, I assure you, she was one out of a million people that were going to say this wallpaper was fabulous. But there I was, right? The wallpaper the beauty of it was in the eye of the beholder, right? I was looking at the same wallpaper and seeing nothing but a very expensive painter's bill. And she, on the other hand, was like, yeah, this is fabulous. I'm sure many of you listeners have had this same experience. If you've worked in real estate long enough, you learn to walk in as a neutral party and ask them what they think, right? So nothing changed in that story. The wallpaper remained the same. The facts remained the same. Nothing changed except the narrative of what each of us were thinking. Now, this is harmless when it comes to design and decor, but absolutely dangerous when it comes to the new era of real estate. And here's the problem. There's two realities going on. Reality number one is this. The agents I know are operating as fiduciaries in every sense of the word. But here's reality number two. The incentives, even legitimate, legal incentives that are being offered potentially by your own company, can put an agent at risk. The reason it concerns me so much today is, in my opinion, my personal opinion, the reason it concerns me so much today is the manipulative manner in which it's being done. It's positioned in such a way, it's positioned as being a positive incentive for agents, when in fact, it could land you in court. And in court, the fact that everyone clapped in the comments section or clapped at the last convention you went to, that's not going to help you. That's not a defense. You see, under pressure, unhappy people judge outcomes first and then assign motive. So in good times, the process in normal good times and in regular operators and in most agents' lives, it looks like this. Someone has an experience or an outcome. They buy a house, and they do so because of your help or your action, which then is a positive outcome. So you think in your brain, oh, it proves my good intention. So in good times, it's outcome, action, and that's a proof that you had good intentions. But what if it's bad times? What if the pressure hits? Instead of outcome, action, intention, it's outcome, action, assumed intention. Think about the wallpaper story, right? Facts remain the same, two very different perceptions. Assumed intention. An unhappy customer, they will assign intention. They'll rewrite the narrative to support their perception. Think about perception. Think about how many times a story can be retold. Same facts, two different versions. Now, here's the antidote. The antidote to keep you safe in this new era of real estate, where we have big thought leaders assigning a story, you need to keep your head about you. I'm concerned for my agent friends. And here's the antidote for you. It doesn't matter what noise swirls around the industry. And it's because it's here to stay, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, I bet. And it's going to get louder, and it's going to get noisier, and it's going to get really, really messy. In my estimation, here's your antidote for you personally. Bring it back to your world. Keep it small. What do you control? It's all about showing your work. Not to perform goodness, but to make your ethics legible through traceable action. I'm going to say that again. To make your ethics, what you believe is right, what you believe is true, you need to make that so somebody else can see it. Nobody can rewrite your story. You need to make that legible through traceable action. Why does this matter now? Because what I just said survives scrutiny. If questioned, in my own real estate practice, if I get questioned, I never is a strong word, but I never want to give somebody else an ounce of room to say I was chasing market share And I doubt you do either. Because values or virtue signaling aren't the centerpiece when you're in court. Your actions are. So there's two ways to stay safe, my agent friends, in the new era of real estate. I'm going to give you one shorthand and one longhand. Under pressure, because it's not every day. Sometimes you find yourself in situations where you just need shorthand to remember your fiduciary, linear process of truly being a fiduciary. And I have a 3-word mental mantra that we're going to go over. It's 3 short words: contract, context, outcome. Contract. What are all the choices the contract says? Context. What's the reality of their situation? What market conditions are they operating in? And outcome. I'm not going to spend so much time on outcome because this is written in this. There's a longer version of this written out for what falls underneath each of these, and that's in Substack. You can just go to Renovating Real Estate in Substack and read more. But if sometimes when we're on a phone call, we're in a very charged emotional situation. We just need shorthand things to remember. And mine, honestly, is contract. You always go back to the contract and you say, okay, and many times when agents are working with consumers, we're in their lives. This is a big deal. This is very personalized. It's very customized. And so you already know there are probably 2 to 3 options here that are passable for you. And you may know their situation, and options 1 through 3 are, probably going to be off the table for them. You say it anyways. You say it anyways. You go back to the contract and you say, Sally Seller, here's the situation. Now, by contract, you have X number of options. Here's all the options, the buffet of options available to you. Now, because I know you, because I know we're working together, I know that you probably don't want option 1 and 2. Then you move to the context. Given the context, what would you like to do? Okay, given the context of the market, here's how I see that decision playing out positively or negatively. You are an interpreter. You are a facilitator of decisions. You are a fiduciary. So for shorthand, contract, context, and outcome. Because the outcome, remember, perception is reality. So you always want to have a defensible position. You want to have operational support in a way that supports your ethical narrative. And if you have that already, if you have an operational documented support structure that shows your moral narrative, it tells a good story, awesome, great. But moral language without operational support, that's dangerous. For instance, if you're using words that are a lot of virtue signaling, you have to ask yourselves, and this is for the agents, you have to ask yourselves, is that documented? How could I prove that? That is just keeping you as a business operator safe. Now, there's an ancillary benefit to all of this kind of work when I say documentation and thinking through your language, thinking about how your operation supports your language and how you operate. There is an ancillary benefit to this level of prep that we walk people through in identity ops. It's owner confidence. It's owner confidence. This is the byproduct of this is credibility over likability. How do you think when I walk into a listing presentation or whatever situation I find myself in, which you can find yourself in a million different situations, right? If I've done the work of operationalizing my identity, how do you think I show up? Let me tell you, credibility walks and talks a lot different than likability. Likability is, please hire me. Credibility is, I may not be the right agent for you. Let's talk about it. These are two very different operators. And in the new era of real estate, I want to make sure that my agent friends who are out there doing the good work, the good things, and working as hard as you do, I want you to also be safe. So the core question agents should be able to answer as if you were in open court is, do my actions reliably produce outcomes that support my ethical narrative? And can I prove it? I think it's like, I don't know, I think agents get 72 hours. If you get called into question, I think you have 72 hours or something, some short amount of window of time where you have to produce and prove what's in question. Texts, emails, process. Can you show your work? So, my friends, write down your process, build decision points, put the options and trade-offs in writing, short follow-ups, confirmations of people's decisions. Think of your files as an evidence trail. Build the story as you go. So the outcome, your outcomes, they speak for themselves because you are not building a defense later. You are building professionalism today. And a note about what you're hearing. A note about this. You need to have your own filter on. You are a business owner. You are not an employee. So audit the leadership incentives so your ethics stay yours. Ask things like this. What are they incentivized to say? What are they incentivized not to say? If I'm wrong in this situation, who pays the price? Would they be standing next to you in court? And there's a Latin saying, I think it's, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, but it's cui bono, who benefits if I adopt this stance? Do their behaviors create the outcomes that match their moral language? Because we absolutely can learn from our leaders. We should learn from our leaders, but you shouldn't rent their ethics. You got to own your own. You shouldn't rent anybody else's ethics or their business model for that matter. You should own your own. You should be running your own business. So, for my operators out there, my agent friends, we got to have repeatable operations that hold under the pressure, because pressure's coming. Especially the pressure that's now on agents in the new era of real estate. Got to have your own mind about you. So, until next week, my friends, contract, context, outcomes, document what you're doing. And you can subscribe for more. You can see this written out in Substack. You can find Renovating Real Estate on Substack. You can go to sandymcmaster.com to learn how we do all of this inside Identity Ops. This is not negotiable. This is just how good operators do it. Until next week, stay safe out there. See you next week.